Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be discussing a very important topic, special needs trusts. These trusts are a vital tool for families to protect a loved one with a disability to make sure they don't lose access to any government benefits like Medicaid or SSI. To break it down, I have Mr. Peter LaSavia, who's a member of the Special Needs Alliance, to help us learn more about special needs trust.
Good morning, Kennedy. Good to be here.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a special needs trust?
Well, special needs trust allows a person to have a better quality of life. It is a legal device that allows an individual to keep their assets and still qualify for Medicaid and Social Security.
I've heard there are different types of special needs trusts. Can you walk me through what they are?
Sure. There are basically three that we're going to discuss here. One is the self-settled, which has to be established by the person who is on government benefits for themselves. It has to be before age 65. And they have to have a payback provision in the trust agreement such that whatever money is left in the trust, when they pass away, Medicaid can come in and seek recovery to that extent. Then the second type is a third-party special needs trust that can be established by someone other than the Medicaid or government benefit recipient. And they can be the income beneficiary of that trust. And when they pass away, that money can go back to the family or some other party or some charity. It doesn't have to have a payback provision. And then thirdly, we have the sole benefit trust, which can be established for the government recipient and has to have a payback provision in it.
Let's talk about why these are important. What does a family risk by not using one?
Well, they risk the government recipient becoming destitute because these government programs really aren't made to keep or to get someone out of poverty. They're basically designed to keep someone in poverty. If they make you spend down to $2,000, you're pretty well destitute. It doesn't give you enough money to really buy you a new car or go on vacation or maybe to pay for some of your medical expenses that aren't covered. But this is a way a person could have hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and still qualify for government benefits. The money enhances the person's life without them losing their government benefits.
What can the trust actually pay for?
Well, the trust can pay for a lot of things. The trust can pay for educational expenses, can pay medical expenses, can pay for vacations, can pay for transportation, can even buy them a car. There's no limit on the amount of car cost. Hobbies, almost anything except food and residence. But if you do pay for food and residence, it causes a reduction in the Social Security benefits and could cause them to lose Social Security. There's a way that those expenses can be paid indirectly out of the trust. And we guide our clients on how to do that without causing a reduction of benefits. The one thing you should never do is give cash to an SSI recipient because that dollar for dollar will reduce their Social Security benefit and can cause them to become disqualified.
Okay, let's talk about managing the trust. What should families consider when picking a trustee?
Well, you always want to pick someone who has experience in education to manage a trust, but special needs trusts are very complex and the rules and regulations are complicated and it's easy to cause a detriment to the beneficiary if you don't stay within the rules. Having said that, you basically have three groups. You have the professional trustee, a trust company. Trust company is good because they're an institution and they don't pass away. That might be the trust officer that you have might pass away, but the institution itself, it won't. And that's all they do, so they have the expertise and knowledge to manage a special needs trust. The detriment here is they usually require a large amount of principal to justify their fees. So a lot of times people don't have enough money to be able to afford a professional trust company. But if you have the money, that's definitely one you should consider. The second is you have some private individuals, attorneys or accountants who manage special needs trusts. These are good in the sense that they usually charge a lower fee than a professional trust company. However, you have the detriment that they can pass away, and then you're kind of out there looking again for somebody else. And third is a pooled income trust, which manages the money for a bunch of small trusts and just puts them all together and manages them. The benefit of them is that they are professional. That's all they do. They have expertise, experience, and they have a lower fee. The detriment is that they are pooled and all your money is in a pool with other trust companies. And a lot of times people don't like that. And then they usually pay that money out to someone else when your beneficiary dies. So that's not favored by a lot of people because they say, no, I want to make sure this money is there for my relative, and when they die, I want the money to go to my charity or my family. So, each one of them has advantages and disadvantages, and you have to figure out which one best suits you.
What happens to the trust money when the person with disability passes away?
It depends on the trust. If you have a first-party trust, that was one that's established by the beneficiary himself, they all have payback provisions. And those payback provisions specify that Medicaid is to be paid back in preference to any other person. So they seek reimbursement for any hospitalization costs, long-term care costs, drug costs. And after they've been fully reimbursed for whatever money they've spent on the recipient, then that money can go to whoever the beneficiary names as a recipient. Now, with the third-party trust, which is one that was established by just somebody other than the beneficiary, those funds have no payback provision. So whatever's left in those accounts can go back directly to the person that they specify. So there's no payback provision. And then you have the pooled income funds that go back to stay in the pool or go back to whoever the pool has named to receive the funds.
Are there any common mistakes that families make with these trusts?
There are several. Sometimes people wait too long to establish the trust. This happens a lot. Sometimes people have a disabled child and they'll say, well, I'm going to rewrite my will to put a special needs trust in there. And they never get around to doing that before they pass away. And the money then goes directly to the beneficiary and disqualifies them from their government benefits and has to be spent down. Now, we have a strategy around that, but if you don't consult somebody who knows the strategies around that, that's what's going to happen. Secondly, they wait too long to do it. They just don't get around to doing it, and maybe the person stays, can't get government benefits. And a lot of times we can qualify somebody immediately for government benefits by just setting up a special needs trust. Well, they'll wait, a year or longer to set up a special needs trust, and it'll cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars paying those benefits personally rather than having the government pay for them. So waiting too long can be a real problem. Second is picking the wrong trustee, because if you don't pick the right person and they mismanage the funds, you can lose the funds through mismanagement. Another mistake that's made is that people aren't familiar with the rules that you shouldn't distribute cash to the beneficiary, and so they'll give money directly to the beneficiary and they're on SSI, and that'll cause them to lose their SSI benefits or for them to be reduced. What has to eventually happen is when the trust terminates, you have to render an accounting. In Louisiana law, you're supposed to render an annual accounting, and so you can get into trouble, be liable for money if you can't properly account for it. So it's very important to maintain good accounting records and to properly spend the money. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself liable for whatever was misspent. Needless to say, you can avoid these pitfalls by retaining advice from somebody who's expert, who works in this area and knows the rules and regulations.
Like you.
Correct, Kitty.
Well, Mr. Pete, this has been a very helpful conversation. Do you have any final thoughts for families considering a special needs trust?
You need to act sooner, start early, and get help from someone who is knowledgeable and experienced. We end up seeing people who have gone to some people who aren't knowledgeable, and sometimes that does more detriment and more harm than it does good. With the proper advice and the proper legal documents, you can improve the life of the person who has a disability.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Mr. Pete. It's been great having you. Thank you everyone for watching. If your family is looking into getting a special needs trust, make sure you talk to a qualified attorney, and we'll see you next time.